Hey, what's going on, gamers? It's the Chronic Gamer here, back with another video, another character spotlight, and this time we're going to be doing Venti. So, right now my Venti is level 70, but he's ascended. Right now we're rocking at about 1,250 attack. We don't have that much elemental mastery on him, and that's just because due to my artifacts, I haven't really prioritized elemental mastery. So we don't have too much here. We do have our Viridescent 4-piece set. Let's start with the feather. So for the feather, we have a 13% energy recharge as a substat, amazing. 15 elemental mastery, which is pretty good. HP and defense we don't care about. We're just kind of rocking this temporarily. It's a purple. We're hoping to get a 5-star to drop. For the flower, we have a 5-star flower, 9.7% energy recharge, and again, I'm prioritizing energy recharge over every other stat right now. We also have attack, HP and defense, doesn't matter yet again. For the circlet, we have energy recharge, but sadly, as I was leveling it up, it didn't upgrade not once. Instead, we got a bunch of crit damage, which crits pretty good. But because we're not autoing a lot, we're not going to proc the crits that much, so we'd prefer energy recharge or like elemental mastery. For the goblet, we have animal bonus damage, which is awesome. That's exactly what we want on the goblet. That's probably the most important piece. And we have more crit damage and some attack, HP and defense yet again. We don't care about that. For the watch or whatever, or the clock or whatever, we have energy recharge. Awesome, that's amazing. That's what we want. We have attack and elemental mastery as well, which is alright. HP, we don't care about. So I'm rocking the sacrificial bow on Venti because the energy recharge is really important. As you can see, I've been going really just for the energy recharge. It's super amazing, and we can see I have 205% energy recharge on my Venti. And what this is going to allow me to do is going to allow me to spam those ults. And as you're going to see, his ult is just really, really strong, especially against a group of enemies that are smaller. With Sacrificial Bow, we want to another good thing is the 50% chance to end your own cooldown. Now, with Venti, is Sacrificial Bow best in slot? I don't think so. I think that you could rock a Stringless, and Stringless would be way, way better on Venti. But I don't have Stringless, and when I get Stringless, that's probably going to go onto my Official, because Sacrificial Bow is really nice for that energy recharge, and I think Venti's ult is just super duper duper strong. That if you can, the more you can use it, just the better. It doesn't matter if you're sacrificing damage, because the ult is just gonna do damage, and it's gonna protect you by CCing the enemy, as we're gonna see as we move on to the talents. So obviously we got the normal attack. I haven't really leveled it up that much because I haven't really focused on autoing with him. We have a level 7 Skyward Sonnet. I thought that because I'm rocking Sacrificial Bow, I spam my E a little bit more than usual, so I decided that I would level up my E to level 7 with the talent material that I had. But there's a good case to be said that you should go for Wind Grand Ode, because the ult is just so strong, and if you're rocking 200% energy recharge like myself, you're going to be using it a lot, and when you use it, it's going to damage a bunch of enemies. And for his passive, we have one that just upgrades his E to make it so that he can create an up current, and he can hold his E to just go up in the air. And this one's an amazing one. Regenerate 15 energy for Venti after the effects of Wind Ground Oded. So after you ult, you get 15 energy back. So you get 15 energy for Venti, and 15 energy for if you say you create a fire swirl with your ult. You're gonna get 15 energy to your fire characters. If you create a lightning swirl, you can get 15 energy back to all your electro characters. So Venti is not only good at kind of just casting his ult, he's also really good at feeding energy to the rest of your team, which is amazing. And when we come here to, what was it? So the cool energy cost for the ult is 60. So it's not too expensive. Jin Shu's is 80. I think 60 is average. Most people are 60. So you can tell that like every 15 seconds you should be getting your ult off. It should be insane. You should be able to get your ult back instantly, because with 200% energy recharge, that's only 60. You just E twice and you have your ult back. Not to mention that when your ult ends, you get an additional 15 energy right there. So that's amazing. So now we're going to take a closer look at Venti's Constellations. And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that Constellation 1 for Venti is not very good at all, especially if you play him as a support. If you're going to play him as like a DPS that wants to like focus on charged attacks, it's good. But for the average Venti, this is going to be useless for you. It's going to do absolutely nothing. So the Constellation 1's a really bad one. But Constellation 2 is really good. It will reduce animal resistance by 12% for 10 seconds when you use your E. And they will actually suffer an additional 12% animal and physical resist if they get knocked into the air or while they're in the air. So that's really good. Obviously, the Constellation 3 and 4 are just leveling up your talents, but for Constellation 4, you get even more animal bonus damage whenever you receive an elemental particle or orb. Huge. This is really big. This will increase Venti's damage a lot, because you should be Eing a bunch, which is going to increase your animal damage, which should increase the rest of your ult's duration. And Constellation 6, targets who take damage from your ult have their animal resist decreased by a further 20%. And if an element absorption recurs, is an additional 20%. So it's basically like the 4-piece Viridescent set, except it's built into Constellation 6. So this with Viridescent, I think that's 60% resist right there in just those two abilities right there. 60% decreased resist towards both Anemo and whatever you're using to, or whatever other elements you're swirling to get the bonus damage. Anyways, we're gonna hop into a domain here real quick, and we're gonna test out Venti, and I'm gonna show you just how powerful Venti can be against some level 90 mobs. And as you can imagine, it doesn't really matter how many enemies we're up against, because as you're gonna see, his ult is just so good at CCing. Doesn't matter how many enemies are in the area, because everyone just gets sucked towards the ult. Alright, so now we're back and we're inside the domain. Right now we're just at the Valley of Remembrance, where you get your Viridescent and Maiden's Beloved artifacts drops. And so let's just quickly take a look at my party setup. So I got Klee, which is going to be my main DPS and going to be the person that wrecks house. We've got Zhang here for the Pyro synergy, and also because I have some Constellations on her, and I'm planning to reduce the enemy's Pyro resistance by 15% when I use her E, which is going to be should be easier to hit, because Venti's going to group up all the enemies and should allow my E to hit a bunch of people. So we also have the star of the show, Venti, here, and the idea is that between Venti and Zhang, we are planning to decrease the enemy's resistance to pyro damage by a significant margin, while keeping our Klee safe, because Klee is very squishy. She's not really built out really well right now, but because Klee is very squishy and she tends to die quite quickly, the plan is going to be to use Venti to CC all the enemies so that Klee doesn't get damaged, and reduce the enemy's resistance while himself doing a bunch of damage, as you can see, while grouping up the enemies, allowing our Klee to just hit those targets with her AoE. And as you're going to see here, the synergy between Klee Venti, and then having another pyro support to support your Klee, it gets pretty insane. So without further ado, let's just start this domain. Alright, so we're going to start off straight off with the ult. And what we're going to do here is we're going to put down Shangling. We're going to E twice. Get that fire. We're going to pop our ult here. Right now we're just going to wait for the cooldown on Venti. It's back up. We can ult again. This time we're going to Pyronado to get some of that nice swirl. We're going to reduce the resists. We're going to E them. We already have our energy back. We're taking some damage here, so let's group them up again. And as you can see, it's insane. You can just spam that ult super fast. And we're gonna switch to our Noah here because we're starting to get low. We can just heal up our whole party super quick like this. We can pop our Zhang Ling. And between the energy recharge and the healing and the damage and the grouping, it's really insane. You just end up being able to do so much damage without risk of dying. And we're just gonna do this, and energy particles fly to me. I can ult. He can't do any more damage to me because he's just in the air. And boom. There he goes. Simple as that. And although it took me quite a while to clear these people, you can do it a lot faster. And it's the main idea with this is just that because Venti is grouping up everybody, even if you don't have a lot of damage and you can't really do the domain too fast, you're always going to be able to get your DPS is always going to be safe, and you're always going to at least be able to do AoE damage. So this Venti works really well against a bunch of weaker enemies versus some elite enemies. As you can see, our last enemy was a little bit stronger than everyone else. And Venti's really good is pairing with squishy characters like Klee because they won't be able to do damage to you, and gathers up all the small targets so that they can't do damage to you, and then you can just wail on them like there's no tomorrow. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave a like if you liked. Make sure that if you have Venti, you use him, and if not, make sure you get him when he comes back into rotation, because right now you can't get him, but as soon as he comes back, trust me, you need to get him, because if you thought he was pretty good just in this domain, he's 100 times better in Spiral Abyss when you have enemies constantly spawning in and then getting sucked up by the whirlpool, getting their resist decreased constantly. It's absolutely cracked. Anyways, Chronic Gamer out. Actually, real quick, before I actually sign off on this video, guys, I just wanted to show from this domain we actually got a new piece of Viridescence, the hat, which is seeming, hopefully, to be an upgrade on my 4-star, and it's looking like it is because the 3 stats are premium, energy recharge, attack, and elemental mastery are huge. So what we're gonna do right now is we're actually just going to enhance it right now. We're gonna get rid of our 4-star, and hopefully we roll some good traits. Let's see what we got. Defense, not so good. And did we just roll defense twice? I think we rolled defense 3 times. 4, 8, and 12. All 3 are defense.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
Well, I mean, it's how it be sometimes.